Hi, my name is Dr. Allison Edgley, and I'm currently a lecturer in the Department of Communication, Media, and Journalism. I don't know how long it really has been since I've had this passion for protecting the environment. I just realized that there was just so much waste in this world. If I'm not going to start making changes in myself, how am I going to actually be able to motivate others? How am I going to influence others? And so over time I started doing research on different ways to recycle, what was the best practices for recycling, and then started to get those R's in, stop buying certain things, start reusing more, recycling more, and then working my journey that way. So it really wasn't any one spark. It's just been over time I started to realize that there are companies and there are other nonprofits that are really trying to do good work, and I wanted to do more. I think some of the biggest challenges that universities are facing when it comes to sustainability is really just the consistency. You can have composting bins and you can have recycling bins, but having people actually put the right items in the right places can be very difficult. I noticed even in the cafeteria, in the composting bin, there was regular garbage in there, even with the right amount of signage. So being consistent and making sure that that comes through in the message from the institution, having a set group of individuals that are even monitoring that can really be very helpful. So I do believe that local communities face the same challenges as universities because you are using your community as your resources. And if people are not invested in the goal, or they don't understand the goal, or they're just not educated or aware enough, it's going to create an inconsistency. So I think that communities do have that same kind of challenge because, especially in an urban area, we don't always have that sense of community. We're very individualistic. We have our own needs, our own goals, our own timelines. And because we have those set agendas, we don't always work together for a greater good. I would say the biggest change I've noticed since working at Kean, definitely not the landscape, because we've always had a beautiful landscape. I feel like it's always been a beautiful campus, but I think it's now the education. It's the awareness. I think that is the biggest thing that I've noticed, because I was doing a lot of small things on my own, not realizing that there were also like minds doing the same thing. And now that we have joined forces, I think that now we're becoming a little bit more streamlined, and that to me is one of the changes, is just now being focused and saying we want to have a group of people who are just working on this task versus letting everyone do small projects on their own. Now we're trying to find a way to synthesize and harmonize all of those efforts, so that way it makes a larger impact with less, I guess, input or less work that we have to put in. There have been quite a few initiatives in sustainability. I know that right now we have electronic charging stations for our vehicles. We have a sustainability task force, and that's kind of the key, getting people together that are all very passionate, really knowing that the people that are involved are very invested in sustainability, I think was the key. And now that we have our like minds together, we're trying to not only collect plastics to get more benches from Next Treks, but we are also trying to reinstate the community garden. We have a composter on campus that not everyone knows about. Right now they're primarily taking from the gourmet dining and the food service, but they also allow me to bring compost, which is nice because I get to also do my part and I get to educate as well. Right now composting, by actually composting in general, you're able to minimize waste, but then also turn that into something that is actually nutritious for the environment. So I think, one, it helps people just to be mindful of how much they're producing by having bins around. But I think the bigger piece is just, in general, composting is something that not a lot of people know a lot about. And it really, when you see the vibrance of the institution and then realize that, we helped to cultivate the soil, we got our hands in this, I think that really can be very important. Right now, we have some amazing students that are really trying to help restore and cultivate the environment around the community garden. And I know that a lot of research has been done on food deserts, especially in urban areas where there just isn't access to fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, or even just green spaces. And I think even just creating and cultivating more green spaces just makes the environment more aesthetically pleasing, makes people want to do, better. And it just is nice to have that around versus just having, barren areas that are more desolate. It really just doesn't create that aesthetic and that energy that creates more of that, harmony amongst people and that positive attitude and outlook for the future. So the advice that I would give for anyone trying to start a program or any initiatives on a university, a campus, or within an institution is to not give up. There's going to be times when you're not going to be able to get people together. There's going to be times when maybe something is not going to work out. You know, you might have a really strong goal or maybe a very aggressive goal. And I think it's very important to create smaller goals so that way you have milestones. And the more you see progress, the more influential that becomes to getting to that larger goal. And if you don't get to that larger goal, don't get discouraged. It's really just about trying something. And sometimes it really just takes that one person to say, I'm going to do this, for others to see, you know, to see them actually in action. And then they start to act the same way. And so I think, you know, being a driver and a motivator is very important, but not burning yourself out to try to do it. Finding the right people to come together that have the resources and the knowledge and the skill and that passion is really what's going to be key to drive any program to success, but then also keep that program sustainable through the years as people move on and move out and graduate. And I think that, you know, is really key to that, just not giving up.